Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to start talking about graphing. But before we talk about graphing, we need to understand what ordered pairs mean and understand the different sections of a graph. Well, the graph is labeled into 4 quadrants. And they go counterclockwise, starting right here at that's 1, that's 2, 3, and 4. Now, the next thing what I'm going to show us is what the ordered pairs would look like in the different quadrants. So first, we need to understand that this is the x-axis, you got a y-axis. So now, in the first quadrant, x and y are both positive. That means any point in quadrant 1, x and y are both positive. Now quadrant 2, since we're going to the negative side of the graph, that is negative x, but we're going up, so that means that's a positive y. The third quadrant is a negative x and a negative y. And the last one is a positive x and a negative y. So what I want us to do with these next 9 little problems that are relating to ordered pairs, is I want you all to label them. Are they in one of these quadrants? Let's take a look at 5, 3. 5, 3, they're both positive. So if we look at this right here, which one of these are both positive? It's in quadrant 1. Take a look at 2 negatives. Both negative, that's quadrant 3. 1's negative, the x is negative, but the y is positive. That's quadrant 2. Forgot my little parentheses right there. 7, so that's positive negative 2. That's in quadrant 4. Now let's look at negative 4, 0. Negative 4, 0 is somewhere right in here. That's actually not in a quadrant. That is on an axis, which is the x-axis. 0, 0 is right here in the middle. We also call that the origin. 0, negative 5, it's on the y-axis. 3, 0 may be right in here. That is on the x-axis. And finally, 0 and 7 may be up here somewhere. It's going to be on the y-axis. Now, what they're going to give you is they're going to give you an equation, and they're going to ask you to fill in the blanks of the table that's on the right. So they give you some x values and a y value, and all you have to do is plug it in the value. Well, anytime they give you an x, it's really simple, in my opinion, because all you have to do when x is 0 is y equals 2 times 0 plus 1. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1, so 0, 1. If I look at negative 2, 2 times negative 2 plus 1 equals 2 times negative 2 is negative 4 plus 1, that's negative 3. And finally, when y is 0, well, this one's a little bit trickier. It's because we cannot, the common mistake is we try to substitute that 0 in for x. Well, that's not the x value. That is actually the y value. So what do I need to do for this? Well, what you want to do is you want to still substitute that value in for y and still have the 2x plus 1. So I did not change anything. The only thing I did was I put the 0 in for y. So now from this point, what we need to do is solve for x. So you can rearrange as 2x plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 from both sides. 2x equals negative 1. Divide by 2. X equals negative 1/2 or negative 0.5. So the key to this is understanding and reading the table and understanding what you want to solve for. The number one mistake is if I give you a y value to substitute that in for the x that's not, you substitute that in for the y value. So if we want to graph this, I'm going to graph one for you all. If you want to graph this, all we're doing is we're putting in our points. Zero, 1 is right here. Negative 2, negative 3, and 1/2, 0. So now my spaces are a little bit uneven, but what it does is it makes a straight line. All the dots have to go through it. So when you're graphing on most computer programs, if you have this on homework, it may let you do 3 points, but really I think most of them require you just to pick 2. And you can pick any 2. It doesn't matter if it's the first 2, the last 2, or the first and last value in this table. Okay, let's try this one. You got 1/3 x minus 1, and I'm giving you x is negative 3, 0, and y is 0. Okay, so let's do the first one, negative 3. Y equals 1/3 times negative 3 minus 1. I like this problem because the 3's do cancel. That leaves you a negative 1. So 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Subtract 1, that gives you negative 2. I also like using 0 as well because anything times 0 is 0. So 1/3 times 0 minus 1. So that's 0 minus 1, which is minus 1. And finally, I'm going to put 0 equals 1/3 x minus 1. So you can add 1 to both sides. So it's 1/3 x equals 1. To get rid of the 1/3 in front of the x, you can flip it. Multiply by 3 over 1. The 3's cancel. And what you're left with, I'll put it right over here. X equals 3. And the final one of problem from this section is I'm going to use negative 4x. I'm going to say y equals negative 4 times 0, which is 0. See, I like when x is 0. It just makes solving this a whole lot simpler. Then I'm going to say the next one, y equals 4 times negative 2, which in this case is negative 8. And finally, I'm going to put 5 in for y. So 5 equals negative 4x. Solve for x by dividing a negative 4. So x equals 5 fourths, and it's negative. So it's negative 5 fourths. So this concludes simple graphing techniques using tables and also understanding the ordered pair and the different quadrants in x and y axis. So please tune in on my next section. Now I'm going to do some more graphing techniques. Thank you very much.